Now, when you watch the Olympics over the next 2 weeks, you'll notice something missing. For the first time in a quarter century, Bob Costas is not in the anchor chair for NBC's primetime coverage. We traveled to New York to talk about why he'd leave a job that was watched by millions.
Hello again from Rio de Janeiro. Bob Costas at the 2016 Olympics.
He's been the face of NBC's Olympic coverage for a quarter century.
And in men's platform diving.
But Bob Costas is passing the torch. Is it a little weird for you right now with the Olympics starting and you're not going to be there?
No, it's not weird at all, because I had planned it for a long time.
Back at our studio on Copacabana Beach.
Veteran sportscaster Mike Tirico, who attended Syracuse University on a Bob Costas scholarship.
It was an honor for the American flag bearer.
Will now fill the chair.
It was entirely my decision. I think they have an able successor in Mike Tirico, and everything runs its course. I did a dozen of them. That's enough.
There was a question as to whether China's authorities...
Whether it was Beijing or Barcelona, he was the conductor setting the tempo for Olympic viewers.
Everywhere you look in Rio.
And when he began, he prepared like a college student studying for finals.
My one bit of useful advice to Mike, I think, was learn what you don't have to know. Because when I first began doing it, I thought I had to know everything.
My eyes can't get any redder, no matter what I do.
When flipping through the pages of his Olympic memories,
Down the hatch.
Really?
there is one page that's bookmarked. It was 1996 when Muhammad Ali lit the Olympic flame after getting the torch from swimmer Janet Evans.
They had staged this in such a way that Ali literally stepped out of the shadows.
Muhammad Ali, of course, an Olympian, as young Cassius Clay, gold medal boxer, 1960, the Games of Rome.
And when he received that torch from her, even then, his arm and body trembling from the Parkinson's.
Look at him, still a great presence, still exuding nobility and stature.
There was a couple of seconds of silence and almost an audible gasp, sound you almost never hear in a stadium, until the place erupted in tremendous and sustained applause.
What a moment! If Edgar makes it, and the early tracking, he'd be just over the line.
Costas may be stepping away from the Olympics, but he's not fading away from broadcasting. In fact, this summer, he'll be focusing on his first love, baseball, a love he passed on to his son. Keith Costas, who grew up in St. Louis, is now a producer with the Major League Baseball Network in New York. Tell me about a memorable baseball trip you may have taken with your dad when you were a kid.
First time to the Hall of Fame, 7 years old, 1993.
And they'll both be back in Cooperstown this summer. A few weeks ago, Bob Costas became a member of a very exclusive club when he was elected into the Hall of Fame as a broadcaster.
Now to have his name in the same hall as guys like Mickey Mantle, who he grew up idolizing, or Ozzie Smith, who he got to watch and cover in St. Louis, I know how much that means to him.
For Costas, the broadcasters he heard as a kid were inseparable from the game. And now his picture will hang alongside legends like Vin Scully and Jack Buck.
I'm somewhere on that same roster. Even if I'm not in the starting lineup, I'm on the same team as those guys. So in that sense, what more could you ask for?
The kind of man who comes off the bench.
Bob Costas was a fixture around town since coming here to broadcast the Spirits of St. Louis on KMOX in 1974. And he says St. Louis is still his true hometown, which may be fitting as he leaves the Olympics behind, because it is, after all, a baseball town.
You know, there are some people outside St. Louis who sneer at it because it's been said over and over again. It's the best baseball town in America. Well, too bad if you don't like it. It's true.
For all of us, boa noite from Brazil.
And you heard him say it, even though he now spends most of his time in California or New York, he still considers St. Louis his hometown. And we're going to have a lot more with Bob Costas later this month. And if you go to this story on KSDK.com, we have a link to an hour-long special we did with Bob, where we talk a lot about the Bob Costas Cancer Center and the event that raised millions to make it happen. St. Louis really is in his heart.
Yeah, and he also raised money for the Bob Costas Cancer Center for a quarter century.
That's right. And that big gala they would have at the Fox Theater, we talk a lot about that in the special, and again, more later this month.
That was great to catch up with him. Thanks, Mike.